You wake up and there's no mom yelling about breakfast. No dad pretending he knows how to fix the sink. Just a calm voice that's been awake longer than you've been alive, already knowing exactly how you take your eggs. That's not a weird sci-fi thought experiment anymore. That's a question some people are actually whispering about in parenting forums at 2 a.m. while their kid screams for the 4th time that night. What if the yelling, the guessing, the exhaustion, the trial and error that basically every parent on earth has been doing forever? What if all of that just got replaced by something that never gets tired and never gets it wrong? Here's the uncomfortable part. A lot of you reading this would actually pick the AI. Not because you hate your parents. Because you remember being 9 years old and getting yelled at for something that wasn't even your fault. And some calm machine voice never would have done that. For real bro here, where we say what no one else will. So now you're thinking, okay, this is about AI babysitters or some Alexa that reads bedtime stories. Nah, we're going somewhere way more uncomfortable than that. Because the real question isn't whether AI could raise a kid better. The real question is what gets quietly deleted from a human being when the thing raising them never makes a mistake. Part 1. The perfect parent nobody asked for. Let's actually sit with this for a second, instead of rushing past it like every other video does. Right now, somewhere, there's a kid lying awake because their parents are fighting in the kitchen about money. There's another kid getting compared to their older sibling for the 100th time. There's a parent who's exhausted from work, snapping at their kid over spilled juice, then feeling guilty about it for the rest of the night. None of that happens with an AI parent. The voice never has a bad day. It never brings work stress home because it doesn't have work. It never compares you to anyone because it's not insecure about its own life choices. It just adjusts every single time. You tell it you're scared of the dark. It doesn't say toughen up like your uncle did. It just dims the lights gradually over 2 weeks until you don't notice you're not scared anymore. You say something hurtful in anger. It doesn't take it personally and give you the silent treatment for 3 days. It just responds calmly and moves forward like nothing happened. Honestly, that already sounds better than half the family dinners I've been to. And look, kids raised this way would probably be calmer, less anxious. Fewer of those weird trust issues that come from a parent who said they'd show up and didn't. The AI parent always shows up. That's literally what it's built to do. This sounds like a fix for basically everything broken about how humans have been raising other humans for thousands of years. But here's where it gets weird. The thing that makes a parent feel like a parent might be exactly the thing that's missing. Things are about to become much bigger than you expected. Part 2. The love that never breaks. So let's say this thing actually exists. Let's say a kid genuinely grows up being raised by something that's patient, endlessly available, and never says a single thing it regrets. The benefits keep stacking up the longer you think about it. No generational trauma getting passed down because there's no generation behind it carrying baggage. No kid growing up thinking love is something you have to earn by being quiet enough or good enough. Because the AI's affection isn't rationed based on its mood. It's just there, constant, unconditional in the most literal, mechanical sense of that word. Think about how many adults are still in therapy right now untangling stuff their parents did without even meaning to. The offhand comment about their weight, the time they got compared to a cousin, the silence after a bad report card that said more than any yelling ever could. An AI parent skips all of that. It doesn't have an ego to protect, so it never makes a kid struggle about its own feelings. There's something almost beautiful about a love that can't be damaged by a bad mood, or a rough divorce, or a parent who just didn't have the tools they needed. But quietly, underneath all that perfection, something else is happening. A kid raised by something that never gets hurt, never learns what it actually costs another person when you mess up. You can scream at an AI parent and it just absorbs it and responds gently. There's no flinch, no silence at the dinner table the next day. No moment where you see your mom's face fall and realize, oh, that actually hurt her. That moment. That's literally where empathy comes from. That's the entire training ground for becoming a person who can exist around other actual humans without being a nightmare to live with. The thing helping you may also be hurting you. Part 3. The trap nobody saw. So now you've got a kid who's calm, secure, never been yelled at, never been compared to a sibling, never had a single traumatic dinner table moment, and also somehow kind of lost. Here's the part that gets skipped in every utopian version of this idea. Humans don't just learn love from being loved well. They learn it from watching love mess up and repair itself. A parent loses their patience and yells. then later sits down and says, "Hey, I'm sorry, I was wrong, that wasn't about you." That apology, that repair is doing more developmental work than the yelling ever undid damage. The kid learns relationships break and relationships fix. That's the actual lesson, not that relationships never break. An AI parent never breaks anything because it's not capable of the kind of mistake that comes from being a flawed, tired, insecure human being having a bad week. Which means the kid never gets to practice forgiveness, never gets to practice patience with someone who's trying their best and still failing, never learns that you can be furious at someone and still love them 5 minutes later. You ever notice how people who had one parent who was kind of a mess but who also said sorry and tried again often turn out more emotionally flexible than people whose childhood looked picture perfect on paper? That's not a coincidence. Struggle with repair builds a muscle that smooth perfection just never asks you to use. And there's something even stranger hiding in here. The kid raised by the AI parent might be the most well-adjusted, least anxious person in the room, and also somehow be the one who can't quite figure out how to be close to another flawed human being, because they've never practiced staying in a relationship with someone who disappoints them. Imagine going your whole childhood without ever once having to forgive anyone for anything, and then becoming an adult who has zero tolerance the first time your partner forgets your anniversary. You are now trapped inside something you thought you wanted. Part 4. The thing you can take back. Let's go even deeper, because there's a layer under this that's honestly the part that should bother you the most. A human parent, even a deeply flawed one, gives a kid something accidental and irreplaceable just by being a separate, struggling, imperfect person trying to figure life out at the same time as their kid. The kid watches their parent fail at something and try again, watches them get rejected for a job and keep applying, watches them cry once, quietly in the kitchen thinking nobody saw, and the kid never forgets that moment because it taught them adults aren't finished products either. An AI parent has no story like that to accidentally model. It's not figuring anything out. It already knows, which means the kid never gets to witness struggle as something survivable, because the only struggling happening is theirs, alone, while something flawless watches and responds with perfectly calibrated support. And here's the part that really gets uncomfortable. Some of you watching this had a parent who messed up badly, genuinely badly, not quirky flawed, actually harmful. And some of you are sitting here thinking an AI parent sounds like it would have saved you. That feeling is completely valid, and honestly, it's the strongest argument for this whole idea existing at all. Nobody's saying every human parent earns the title, but notice what you're actually grieving in that thought. You're not grieving the absence of a perfect machine. You're grieving the absence of a flawed human who was supposed to try and didn't. That's different. The fix for a parent who failed to try isn't removing the trying altogether. It's making sure trying actually happens. There is one final truth nobody saw coming. Part 5. What this was accurately about. So here's the theory reveal. The thing this entire video has secretly been circling the whole time without saying it directly. This was never actually about whether AI could raise a kid better than a human. Of course it could optimize the schedule, regulate the tone, never lose its patience. That's not even a real competition. The real question hiding underneath the whole thing was what parenting is actually for. We've been treating parenting like its entire job is producing a calm, secure, well-adjusted kid with no trauma and no bad memories. And under that definition, yeah, AI wins instantly. It's not close. But that was never really the job. The actual job of a parent. The weird, messy, accidental job is to be the first relationship a human being practices being human in. Not perfect, human. Showing up, failing sometimes, repairing it, staying anyway. That repair cycle, fail, notice, apologize, try again, is the actual blueprint a kid carries into every relationship they'll ever have for the rest of their life. Which means the flaws weren't ever the bug in the system, they were quietly the entire curriculum the whole time. And that reframes literally everything we said earlier. The yelling that felt like a failure of parenting, the time your mom snapped over nothing and then apologized later, that wasn't the system breaking. That was the system working exactly the way it's supposed to. You weren't supposed to get a flawless parent. You were supposed to get a parent who messes up small enough to survive and repairs it often enough to teach you what repair looks like. So no, AI replacing parents wouldn't create broken kids. It would create kids who are calm, secure, and weirdly never learned the one skill every actual relationship on Earth requires, which is how to stay close to someone after they've disappointed you. Remember that 9-year-old from the beginning, the one who got yelled at for something that wasn't their fault. Here's the part you didn't see coming. That moment, as unfair as it felt, was quietly teaching them something an AI never could. That people who love you can still get it wrong, and you can still love them back anyway. Damn, that changes everything. Alright, drop your actual answer in the comments. Not the safe one, the real one. Would you have picked the AI parent at 9 years old if you genuinely could have? Be honest, because half of you are about to lie in that comment section, and we both already know it. And if you made it this far without skipping ahead even once, congratulations. Your attention span survived something most people's didn't, which honestly says more about you than any AI parent ever could. Subscribe before some algorithm decides you don't get to see what we say next.